What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rico, the acronym, and I'm trying a little something different today. Now, I know the channel's called Rico's Rants, and usually it is just me ranting, going on about some shit, but I saw something and it kind of drew my attention, and I felt this would be a great time to try doing some long form content. Just trying something that I actually sat down, did some research on, wrote a little script, and really worked on. So that's what we're going to try today. And if you dig this kind of content from me, let me know. I can do some more. If you like what I was doing, let me know that too. Just let me know what y'all are feeling on the channel. Holla at me in the comments. My Instagram and everything will be put up at the end, so you can holla at me on there. Let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. Let me know what's cracking. So I was just roaming through YouTube as I usually do at work, just trying to find something to listen to get me through the day. And I ran up on this real interesting looking video called Debunking the 1619 Project. Is America Racist? David Barton teaches on the truth about America. Now, mind you, I have no idea who David Barton is. I actually didn't really know a whole lot about the 1619 Project until I saw this video and did my own research. So, honestly, it just looked like something that was real interesting to see someone debunk. Because, mind you, they're debunking something. The only thing I know is that um, people were trying to take it out of schools because it was a curriculum that was being taught, and they didn't like it because they put it right there with CRT. And so I'm like, all right, let's give it a whirl. I've probably heard everything this guy's gonna say before. He's gonna talk about how the Civil War was about states' rights and how how blacks and whites have always gotten along in America until I guess after World War II or something. I was like, whatever. So I clicked play, and at first it seemed simple enough, basic history lesson about the American Revolution. But then he started to speak about men, black men, that I had never really heard of before in discussions about history, especially American history. Um, he explained how all of them were so instrumental in the building of America and how respected they were in their time, and a whole lot of other really nice sounding stuff. Like honestly, like I was impressed. I was like, okay, this seems like something this seems like I feel like I'm learning something here. But then I thought to myself, I said, hold on, wait a minute. I can almost guarantee that this man is not telling the entire story of these great men of history. I can almost guarantee it. I also didn't really see the truth in the fact that this Barton guy kept bringing up the fact that these men were not taught about in schools anymore, as if they were ever really taught outside of maybe a collegiate setting, focusing specifically on the American Revolution. Like, he acts like these men were in elementary school social studies books. And I can tell you, as a person that went through, school, they weren't. Now, I don't know how far back he was trying to talk about. These men used to be taught about, and now they're not taught about it anymore because we try to make America seem racist. But whatever. So, long story short, I listened to the whole video. It was like 52 minutes. And I just listened to this guy pretty much tell half truths. And I said, all right, I'm going to take some notes down and I'm going to go home and I'm going to do my own research. And this is what I found. Now, in this wonderfully patriotic retelling of American history, which he calls our true history, Mr. Barton names several individuals, all black men. These individuals' names are Harry Hoosier, John Morant, not John Morant, John Morant, Lemuel Haynes, Wentworth Cheswell, Prince Estabrooks, Peter Salem, Salem Poor, Prince Whipple, James Armistead Lafayette, and Anthony Johnson. Now, before we even start into the histories of these men, let's just go ahead and take two of these men and look at the fact that they had the same first name. Now, most people would see this as just like a coincidence, like, oh, two guys named John, two guys named Austin, whatever. And they wouldn't think there's any more to think about it, but we have to remember the time at which these men were alive. These two men, Prince Whipple and Prince Estabrooks, as esteemed as they are in American Revolutionary college courses, were both former slaves freed after they had served their time fighting in the American Revolution. Now, as is common knowledge, um, a lot of slaves, most slaves, were given names upon arriving in the Americas, and their names may be changed 3, 4 times between where they were kidnapped from or sold in Africa to where they got the cotton fields and the tobacco fields here in America. Now, the fact that the two men he brought up, one of which was originally from Ghana and was literally kidnapped by a sea captain and sold into slavery, had the same name was more than likely a product of their enslaved status. But Mr. Barton decided to leave that fact out, that not only were these men slaves, but they would have remained slaves if not for their enlistment and assistance with the American Revolution. What a lot of right-wing history academics and a lot of just people on the right wing that talk about history and swear to God they know everything about history, especially when it comes to American history, they love to leave out the fact that America started offering freedom to slaves that enlisted because they were afraid of that same offer that was being offered by the British, which would further even swell one of the most powerful nations, armies, and navies in the world at that time, which was the British. Washington himself ended the recruitment of black soldiers in 1775, that is. But only after the British started offering freedom to slaves did he go, okay, no, we need to actually bring back black recruitment because we need to win this war. Another thing that I found very interesting about the people that Mr. Barton decided to bring up was, they were all former slaves and either became ministers of the church, politicians, or came from a history of slavery. As is the case with Wentworth Cheswell. Wentworth Cheswell's grandfather was a freed slave who, after his freedom, worked and bought 20 acres of land, making him one of the earliest black landowners in America. Wentworth himself, however black his actual ancestry was, actually passed for white and was accepted as such. You can look in the U.S. Census. Now, in the case of Harry Hoosier, which is the reason why people from Oklahoma are called Hoosiers, he was a former slave who then became what some called one of the greatest orators in America. But of course, that did not keep him from being excluded from the church after a false accusation, which led him to a whole different life of homelessness and alcoholism. Luckily, he recovered before he died. Now, John Merritt was another preacher who ended up getting into beefs with white preachers because the white preachers were actually losing their congregations to him. A quote by James Walker reads, "His struggle as a black Christian in an irreligious white slave-owning world that made little distinction between slaves and freeborn blacks was intended to inspire not just the people of his own color, but whites as well." Now notice the words that were just used. That made little distinction between slaves and freeborn blacks. That's the society that these men lived in. But David Barton doesn't like to bring that up. And he doesn't like to bring it up because it pretty much decimates everything he has to say. Now, Lemuel Haynes, the first black ordained minister in America, another person brought up in Mr. Barton's video, also was an equal rights advocate, something he wouldn't have had to be at the time if everything was so peachy clean like they say it was. Now, of course, we get to my favorite part of any right-wing history lesson, any, oh, America hasn't been racist since its core. They always do this. They always pull up one Negro to bring it up and just debunk racism completely. It's always a black man nobody has ever heard of and did something that's so especially heinous that it somehow equals up to 250 years of slavery and over 400 years of systemic racism. And that man today, his name is Anthony Johnson. Anthony was brought up in this particular video because not only was he a free slave that eventually went on to own slaves, but he was also involved in a lawsuit that ended in the supposed first ever legal life enslavement of anyone in America. What was ignored, of course, was that Anthony was, of course, sold into the slave trade in Angola as an indentured servant and not a slave. Now, true enough, we do not hear about black indentured servants enough when we talk about American history. Usually, when we talk about somebody black coming from Africa to America, usually we're talking about slaves. Now, apparently, after Johnson gained his freedom and some land and he started buying up servant contracts of his own, he had one indentured servant that apparently was so lazy that he used what was called a freedom suit to sue for the return of the indentured servant simply because he was so lazy during his, I guess, 7 or so years of indentured servitude. Mind you, this all happened in the late 1600s. And because of that, Mr. Barton would like to use this as proof that blacks and whites have always been equal in this country and that there is no systemic racism, which we all know is a lie. Now, for the comfort of everybody watching right now, I have an entire breakdown of the whole hour in the description below if you really just want a quick synopsis of what I had to sit through. Because, Lord, I ain't trying to put none of y'all through that. There's so much brought up, like the fact that black revolutionary soldiers served longer than whites. But I wonder why. Maybe it was because they were getting offered freedom. No one ever thinks about that. They re-enlisted more than whites. Why? Because eventually it got comfortable for whites. It never got comfortable for black people. The most comfort they had was in war and in the military. Is that not crazy? Towards the end, he brings up these 8 points to remember. They are as follows. Number 1, slavery was inhumane and barbaric. Duh. We already knew that one. Next. All right. 2, America was not the global leader in the slave trade. Well, yeah, it'd be kind of hard for a country that was brand new in 1776 to be the global leader in a slave trade that was started by other countries. Like America was a new country. So let's stop the little BS history attempt at wordplay there, attempted trying to trip you up with words. All right, number 3, a black man is responsible for permanent slavery in America. Now this is the one that is just the stretch beyond stretches because he uses the story of Anthony Johnson as a scapegoat for all the other people involved in buying indentured servitude contracts to start keeping people for life. And that's simply not fair. There were lifetime slaves before Anthony Johnson, and that's just fact. That's just what it is. Number 4, free blacks had slaves, and some of those slaves were white. Oh, here we go with the white slavery. I don't even want to dignify this one with a response, but fuck it, I'm gonna try. White slavery is a myth. It just is. Nobody was stealing white people from the shores of Britain and packaging them up like hot dogs to sell in the New World, okay? Were there prisoners that lived out their sentences serving the crown in America? Absolutely. Yes. But if those men were considered slaves, then what are the black men that are in our prison system today considered? Ever think about that? But we'll do that on another video. Then he just kind of skips past 5s and 6 and just goes straight into the wonderfully loved excuse of the Muslims were doing it first. And yes, we all know that slavery was a staple of the old world and was practiced by everyone, including black people. This is not an excuse for the chattel slavery that was practiced during the transatlantic slave trade. White people, I will keep on saying it until you fucking hear me. Some of y'all do, some of y'all don't. The ones that don't, y'all will get it eventually. And speaking of things y'all gonna have to get eventually, this last one that he brought up, and it's the one that white people in the South love to bring up the most. The fact that 80% of Southern whites did not own slaves. So the fact that some of the people weren't in the economic place to purchase slaves means they were totally against it, right? Right. Because I'm totally against Lamborghinis. Like, I think that Lamborghinis should not be sold because I can't afford them. Fuck all those rappers. We need to outlaw Lambos. And then we just get to the end of this video, and this man just starts lying and throwing in all his own bias and everything. He claims a whole lot of the Confederate statues that were being torn down at the time are actually statues of Union generals and soldiers, which is just an outright lie. And sad enough, he lied in a church. Like, come on, man. You should be ashamed of yourself. And then, of course, to end it all off, to top off the miseducation pie with the whipped cream and the cherry, he brings up a Martin Luther King quote. We knew it was coming. just put the old bow on the old entitled and racist package here. Now, what really sickened me to see was black people in the audience shaking their heads in agreement, as if this man is just saying something supremely profound. And when all he's done is lie and tell half truths the entire 52 minutes he's been on stage. Mind you, I had no idea who this guy was before this popped up my YouTube algorithm. But I can say this. If someone invites you to hear David Barton speak, I don't care how Christian you are, run. Okay, run. That person is misled and about to attempt to mislead you. This is yet another Christian nationalist grifter that is trying to bring us together by tearing us apart, whether or not he actually realizes it, which I'm sure he does, but I got to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Actually, no, I don't. He knows what he's doing. He's trying to make people come together by just eliminating racism from American history. Like that's going to make us all just go, oh, okay, well, never mind all the stuff we're going through now. Let's just all hug and we're all cool now. Like, no, that's not how we fix the problem of racism and bigotry and all this other stuff in America. That's not the answer. Trying to make people come together with this is just irresponsible, you know? But then again, we're on YouTube. This is the realm of the irresponsible. This is where you can say and do almost whatever you want to as long as you make it sound good enough. And I gotta say, the guy made it sound good. If I wasn't up on my history like I am, I might have fell for it too. It's something about when people use the church and use God and use all this other stuff to eliminate the idea of racism or to say, oh, well, these people couldn't have possibly. And then you get you get these people that add in history to it and go, oh, it's not right. It's not right. And as a man of God, he should be ashamed of himself for literally misleading the flock. All right. That was my first video essay. How did I do? Y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all let me know what y'all feel. Let me know if y'all want to see some more stuff like this. If y'all don't and y'all hated this, just say never do it again. I'll never do it again. I promise. And also, go check out the 1619 Project on Hulu. I've started watching it. I've gotten through like the first 3 episodes, and it's very informative. And as a person that grew up with Black history being huge in my household, I'm learning stuff on there that I didn't know. So if you think you know everything, you don't know everything. I guarantee that. Check it out. It's good. And check it out if you can deal with it right now, because I know being Black in America, we are always mourning somebody. Right now, I know a lot of us in Memphis are mourning Tyree Nichols. So watch it when you get the chance. You know what I'm saying? Don't stress yourself out about it, but also educate yourself. Understand what it is out here and understand where you come from so you can know where you're going. All right? It's Rico the acronym. I'm out of here. Peace.